Hello YouTube, I'm the Foam Witch, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made the shield for the brand new Cosmic Fury Rangers. This is the second piece of the armour that I've made. I've already made the belt, you can see that video back on my YouTube channel. And if you don't already subscribe to my channel, this would be a great time to ask you to please go and hit that subscribe button. So let me show you how I made the shield, and let's do this. So the first thing I needed to do was try and make some kind of template. So to do this, I just stuck pieces of paper together, drew a big circle shape, cut out a neck hole, and then kind of adjusted it when it was on my mannequin to what I thought looked right. And then it was just a case of trying to draw all the detail on. I've had a few pictures on my phone that I kept referring back to, and this was just a case of guessing until I thought it looked about right. I'll be honest, it did take me about 3 attempts to get a template I was happy with. And that did take me a long time. It took me a couple of days to kind of get it right, but I was really happy with it once it was done. And this was the rough template once I was happy with all the placement. And then I went in with a Sharpie marker and just made the lines a little more noticeable and just cleaned them up a bit. And this was the template after my third and final attempt, and I was super happy with it. I only drew the spikes on the one side because when I cut them out, I'm going to flip them over and trace round them so it mirrors it onto the other side. Then it was just a case of tracing around the template onto the foam and cutting it out. No fancy cuts needed here, I just used a sharp craft knife and used straight edge cuts. Ta-da! Now the base of the shield was complete, it was time to move on to cutting out the spikes. And like I said before, I cut out the spikes, drew around them for one side and cut those out, then flipped them over to mirror them for the other side. And for each one of these spikes, I used an outward bevel cut. And this is what it looks like once all the spikes for one side of the shield were cut out. Then I did the same for the other side, and it was time to test how they looked. A little wave there from me. So I just pinned all of the spikes onto the base to see how they would fit once they were all together. And once they were all on the base, I was happy, but they did all need a little bit of a tidy up to make them a little bit thinner, more like the shield in the pictures. So to do this, I took my Dremel and sanded down every edge to give it that neat look. And hopefully here you can see the difference that has made. The edge spike is looking super clean, whereas the one above it is looking a little bit rough, which is how people usually describe how I look. Now sanding all the edges did take a long time, but it is worth it if you want your final project to look nice and clean. And this is how the shield looked once all the sanding had been done. I want to give a shout out to my friend April, who helped me to understand how the spikes would fit together at the front. Thanks so much for that because it really made it look more like the ones from the photos. Go check her out on Instagram because she does some really awesome Power Rangers artwork. Sanding foam creates an awful lot of dust, so here's a shot of me hoovering my face. It was now time to stick all of the spikes onto the base. Hoovering my face onto the base. I've basically just written a poem. To stick them down I use what I always use on my foam projects, and that is contact adhesive. I get my contact adhesive from Polyprops along with my foam and sealer. I just find that they're the best. This is not a paid promotion, I just genuinely love their stuff. Now it was time to work on the middle section, and this part needed cutting out. Oh, like magic. It's like I'm some kind of witch. I took the middle section of the template and traced it onto 3mm foam. I left an inch edge around this so I could stick that back onto the shield later. And then I cut out each segment piece with a little bit of edge at the top so I could stick them together overlapping. Just to clarify, because I don't think I've said it yet, for the base of the shield I used 5mm foam and I used the same for the spikes. When I was looking at the reference photos, I noticed that it had this line down the middle, so I wanted to add that on as well. And for this, I used a thin piece of foam dowel that I'd cut in half down the centre. I wasn't really sure how they'd done this, and in some photos it does just look like the join where the pieces meet in the middle, but I did it and it looked alright, so I was happy. Then it was just a case of cutting this piece out and sticking it back onto the shield. This was a little bit tricky to make sure it lined back up properly and didn't make the shield a bit ski-whiff, but I managed it in the end. I then needed to make sure the shield was curved, so I heated it up with the heat gun, had a little bit of a fight with it to make sure it kept its shape. And that was all of the parts attached back to the shield. As I explain in pretty much every one of my videos, I'm a messy builder, so there was a lot of stray glue and pen marks. To tidy this up before sealing the project, I just take some white spirit on a cotton bud and very gently rub away the glue and the pen. And this is how it looked once it had had a wash and was all clean and tidy. Now I needed to attach something to keep it closed at the back, and for this I used Velcro. I attached both the hook and loop sides of the Velcro to each side of the shield, and this worked perfectly to keep it closed. Now the shield was ready to begin the sealing process. And as you can see here, it is now super smooth and ready for painting. I chose to start with the gold. I'm not really sure why, it's just what I picked. So I covered the rest of the shield to avoid any overspray, and then I used gold airbrush paint in my airbrush, to paint the gold. After 5 layers of the gold paint, it was time to unwrap this like a present and see the damage that had been caused. Although luckily, because of proper preparation, there was barely any overspray. Once the gold was dry, it was then time to paint the silver, so the gold got covered. And again, using my airbrush, I sprayed the silver on. Ignore the random bath in the background, we're having our bathroom done at the moment and there's nowhere else to put it. Once I'd sprayed on 4 layers of the silver, the painting was complete and the shield was finished. And there we have it. That's how I made the shield for the Cosmic Fury Rangers. If you are still watching this video, I want to give you a huge thank you for making it this far. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up like, that would be awesome. And if you are watching and still haven't subscribed to my channel, if you want to go and subscribe now, that would be incredible. If you want to stay up to date with the crafting that I do, if you want to follow me on my other socials, I have Twitter, I have Instagram, I have TikTok, you name it, I've got it. That would be awesome. You can follow me at The Foam Witch. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who supports me with what I do. It means the world. So other than that, all I've got left to say is, I'll see you next time.